Hello guys, here we have an Emisar D18 100% stock, and today we're going to take one apart together just to check out the design details and why I think this light is likely one of the best made and well designed light I have handled so far. And I've opened up a ton of lights, and this one actually probably stood out among the top 5 in terms of build quality and design. So very interesting light. Honestly, I think it's the best bang for your buck right here in terms of both quality and performance. All right. Okay, the workspace. This is my real workspace. This is where I work. Well, this is part of where I work, and it's messy as hell. I know. Please don't judge. It's just how it is. All right. So just ignore all of that. I just have to sit here for this video because I need my solder station. All right. So let's get into it. You probably won't be able to see the anodization unless you handle one in person, but this is a very nice anodization. As I've mentioned before, other Emisar, I think they're average quality, great performance on all the Emisar, but quality-wise, I think the anodization on this one is by far exceed all of the other Emisar, and in some ways is even an improvement over the Noctagon, since the Noctagon doesn't have very even anodization sometimes, and this one in sand or black has very even anodization. It feels thick and it feels good to the touch. So anodization is right on point. All right, let's take off the tail cap and take a look. Okay, actually, let's take off the whole body. I've never done this kind of video before, so just bear with me. We're doing all this in one take, so it is what it is. All right, very thick body, and that's gonna help take out some of the heat from the light. I like that design feature. The wall is still relatively thick right here around the side. Substantial meat right here to handle all that weight. And then on the bottom there, you have a parallel setup with a copper PCB here. It says right here, even on it, pure copper board held down by 3 screws. I won't bother to take that out, but it's a thick copper plate. I don't think you can get any better current transfer than that. On some of the light, though, it's kind of dirty under the connection, so just remove these 3 screws and clean off the connections. And possibly, if you want, you may add a bypass spring on the spring, and then you have a as good of a current transfer as you can have. As you can see here, here are the 3 thick body between the cells, and right where the thick body is at, Emisar, or Emisar decided to, I'm just going to refer to the team as Emisar, all right? So Emisar designed the lanyard loophole in a very nice way here with very thick cutout, so it wouldn't break very easily, and you can see that it was probably knurled first and then drill tap to have that really thick, nice lanyard hole. I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about machining, but it looks really nice. All right, and I love the thick square. It's kind of a pyramid, not really pyramid, but trapezoidal. What do you call this, knurling? And it feels really good. In general, these purple, not purple, these red orange O-rings tends to last a little longer than the black one if it comes from China. I forgot, nitrite, I think that's the material that these are made of. I'm not sure on that, but the red ones are typically a little better in quality than the black one coming out of China on Chinese lights. All right, so I'm glad to see that. They're a nice thick O-ring, and they make really firm contact with the body to provide a very good seal. Looking at the thread here, not sure if you can see it on camera, but it's square cut threads, and the factory did a good job providing loop on both sides of the light, and that's very nice. All right, we'll revisit. Actually, let's just set the body aside for now, and then we'll revisit the inside a little bit later. For now, let's take off the stainless bezel. It does take a lot of. Actually, let's talk a little bit about the fins here. Really nice thick fins. it looks very nice aesthetically. And if you look at the light, that's all the prints you get right there, and I like that a lot. No serial number and none of that funny crap on here, like Emisar.com, anything like that. It would just ruin the light completely. I really like how it's simple here. High power illumination. Maybe that's not even necessary. Emisar D18. That's all I think would have made it a little bit more classy, but that's very minimal already as is compared to other people. Very nice thick knurling right around the tail cap here. You more for aesthetic because you don't really need to remove this tail cap for anything, so you don't quite need that kind of knurling on this tail cap. If anything, I think the knurling going from instead of longitudinal, going latitudinal would provide a little bit more grip holding the light than the longitudinal here that we have here. All right. Let's see if I have anything else to say on the body here. Okay, we're good on there. The button design here is very nice. You can see that the button is recessed. And I love how the design on the rubber boot here is just circular rings. So you can't really there's no correct orientation, and that makes it symmetric any way you look at it. Some factory put their logo on here and then they don't punch it in at the right angle, and it's just ticks me off. All right, and it's recessed enough that there's no accidental activation. And the little square cut here just makes it look really nice, and you can easily locate where it is at night, even though it's recessed. All right, so very easy to access the button. Nice clicky, and you can hear a really nice clicky on it sound, but it's not easily accessed, easily bumped. Okay. I won't talk about the user interface too much because you guys all know about the ramping feature, and that's excellent on its own right. All right, here. So let's take out the stainless bezel. Like I said, this is an unedited video, so I'm going to be saying some things that might not be intended. But that's just the nature of it without any edit. It's kind of a matte finish here on the stainless bezel, but at least they have it's a really nice very nice stainless bezel. Many light doesn't even have a stainless bezel, so and for me this is kind of a must because it's just a nice feature that protects the front of the light. It doesn't have any scallop, so if you leave this light upside down, no light will escape, and that's kind of a downfall because it's a very high intensity light, and you know, it's nice to have a little bit of a scallop cut, but I imagine at the price point that we have here, you know, not bad at all. All of the corners on this light, all of the edges is broken down, so it's all soft to the touch. All right. The matte finish, the polished finish would probably add a little bit more class, but the matte finish will last a little longer. Right inside this bezel here, you can see that. Let me see if I can get myself a pointer. There's a groove here, so it's not just a flat wall. There's a groove, so that way the O-ring actually sits inside of it, and there's no way for the O-rings to fall out of that groove. So the O-ring fits tightly in there. The O-ring cannot fall out, and that's a really nice feature. Some light, such as I think the D1. Actually, I'm not going to bring up any names because I can't recall exactly which model. But there are some light models that doesn't have that retaining lip, the U-shaped lip that holds in the O-ring, and the O-ring can actually slip out of it. All right, so that's a very nice design feature there. So the glass is pressed down by that O-ring, and then here's the cool feature here. Right below that glass, there's another O-ring. So this glass right here is suspended between two O-rings. All right. So if you have the glass sitting with O-rings on either side, it just adds that much to the light because if you drop it a little bit or you drop it on the front end, there's a lot more protection on that glass because it's well sprung. All right, and that O-ring right there goes, I don't know if you can see it, but there's another groove here. Very nice attention to detail. There's another groove here, and that's a wall. So that's a pit right there. So the white O-ring that you see will fit into that pit So it doesn't slide in or out or anywhere. So there's a pit there to hold in that O-ring, and then there's a pit on the bezel to hold in the O-ring. So both O-rings are held in its own wall, pressed against the glass, right? So I don't think there's any other way to suspend the glass better than this design. Very, very, very nice. Okay, let's take a look at the glass. Looking at it is double side coated. You can see there you probably can't see it on camera, but it's double AR. Okay, so double side reflective, anti-reflective coating on either side of the glass. The glass is not incredibly thick, but it's not bad either. Okay, and I guess it helps with the thinner it is, better, probably better for light transmittance. I think that's the word. All right, so let's set that aside. And then they go to the extra mile to add a third O-ring here on the side of on the head itself. So that way, you just have O-rings everywhere, and I imagine that will provide a very good seal. There is a PCB-like material, fiber material-like that's cut exactly to the shape of these around these reflector here. See that? Not optics here. So very nice attention to detail. This helped retain the optics somewhat. I don't know exactly. Yeah, you probably need them to hold down the glass, to hold down the optics somewhat. But if you prefer the look of without this, you can actually just add a tad bit of super glue on all of the optics and it'll hold it down just fine, and you won't really need this if you prefer to have your light exposed with all the optics. And I think that's a kind of a cool look without this black disc. But if you like the clean, classy look, then this on there seals the deal. And check this out. There is on this disc right here, you can see there's that 1 groove, 2 groove, and 3 groove. That little groove right there goes into these 3 grooves here. Look at that. So it doesn't spin around or anything. Talking about attention to detail, right? So, all right. So let's set that aside, and then let's quickly, let's see how we can do this. Let's quickly, without breaking anything on camera, try to remove these optics. Every single LED has its own optics. So, all right, here we go. Oh, this is going to be a bit tedious, but oh my god, let's not break anything on camera here. All right, that's the second one. Try to go from it from this angle, that way you have something to pry on. Okay. Oops. All right. That one I can just pull out. Oh, crap. Where'd it go? Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna talk a little bit while I do this, so I'm not wasting a lot of your time. You can see here, it uses, I don't know what the gauge wire this is, but it's very thick gauge wire. So I like that. Great attention to detail there. Usually companies tends to cut corners when people at places where people don't see, and this is a good light where they didn't cut corners anywhere, and they design the light right to handle the performance. Okay, you can see here there's that big fat wires I was referring to. All right, let's pull off these optics here. Okay, okay, let's go ahead and desolder, remove these 4 screws here. I love it when lights with MCPCBs that are held down by screws, because that just provide a really, really good contact pressure for heat transfer. And they even went through the extra detail to put a little insulator disc behind every screw, and that's hand cut. That's not something that you can't see it on camera, but every single disc, insulator disc, is actually hand cut. And that's really nice. They put that little disc there so that it won't bite into the copper here and possibly short out the light. All right, so let's desolder these two center LED leads. All right. All right, so now that we have these two LED leads removed, there's something I want to point out. Check out how there is a groove on the body here, and there's another, see how there's that groove there on the body? So I'm not sure how they did it, but they actually managed to machine a little groove all around the light, just so that that wire and this wire can fit in there without interfering with the optic setting. So crazy attention to detail. I'm not sure. It looks like there's no place to run a trace from here to here, so they had to run this fat wire here, and that far wire would definitely run into compete for space with the optics. So they did a machining where they cut into the body here, the head here. That's just crazy attention to detail. All right. Ah, damn it! I need finer tweezer. Okay, let's see if this is okay. All right, we have to remove these wires, otherwise the MCPs, the copper MCPCBs here won't easily fall out. All right. Oh my God, I gotta put this back together later. No fun. All right, so now that this is removed. It's so hard to do all this looking at the camera and then looking at the thing in real life. All right, quit whining. Here we go. So in order to remove this, let's just put our tweezer here into two of the holes and then spin it to break it free loose and see if we can tap it out. So this one has a relatively good amount of thermal paste. Thin, but not too thin. And it's good. It's nice. All right. Good enough to make good contact. And on top of that, this is a relatively thick MCPCBs here, copper MCPCBs here, and is really nicely finished, gold plated or gold color plated. And it's really nice. It's really smooth. It'll make excellent contact. You can see here how it's kind of reflective, so that indicate how nicely finished it is. So the contact of the two surfaces will provide a really nice heat transfer path. Let me touch this surface here. Wow, very impressive. This thing right here, the surface right here, it seems like it was freaking polished. So it's really rare where you actually have the surface of the aluminum here polished. And I'm so glad that they did not anodize this, because to leave the bare aluminum so that it'll transfer as best as it could. I don't know if the camera can captures it, but you can see that it's very, very shiny. Yeah, so that's that. So now you can take a little better look at the groove I was talking about, just to hold these two little wires inside, out of the way of the optics. Crazy attention to detail, right? All right, so let's take a look at the MCPCBs here. I don't think it could be done any nicer. Look at all the little holes on it that was cut out so that you can fit in the optics. So lots of computer time designing this MCPCBs. And check how some of the holes are a little longer than the other, because when the optic sits on here, this will hold two of the feet of the optics. See that? So one will sit on one side and the other will sit on this other side. So two optics will share one of that bigger hole. That's kind of a smart design, because normally you would think that they would just put two holes, but then they're so next to each other, they might as well make one larger hole that fits them all. And the machining is so exact that the optics sit exactly on top of the LED. As you can tell from the beam is perfect, and everything just fits really, really nicely, and really nice, well machined, and the optic sits on top of it. Who thought of the freaking idea to put 18 little optics on this thing? Wow, what what a plan, right? All right, so and as you can see, all the optics sits really close to each other, maximize the amount of space used. All right. So let's put that out of the way, and now let's take out the driver. So as you can see here, everything is really well designed. Okay, there we have to take out the driver for me to show you guys the very thick shelf. I call it a shelf because that's what people refer to it as, but I usually call it, before people knowing it that it's called the shelf, I call it the base, the LED base. But yeah, that doesn't make any sense either. So I have to remove the driver to show you guys how thick this shelf here is. It's that thick. All right. So plenty of mass, exactly where you need it, right under the MC PCBs. A lot of light have very thin shelf, and this light being as compact as it is with that thick of a shelf is very impressive. All right, so now we have to remove the driver, and look at this. There's that whole big large brass what do you call this, brass contact patch for the disc for the positive, and then the negative goes on the outside. There's 2 screws there, and then there's these little extra ring here. That ring is not really necessary, but it's there because good attention to detail, I guess, and is there, and you can see hint that there are screws there. You just can't get to it unless you pry this out. So let's see if we can pry this out without breaking anything. You want to get it all around. Oh my god, this is hard to do on camera. All right, see, the glue's breaking. Don't go too harsh at one end. Work around it. These are just screwdrivers that I bend the head and put some tape here so it won't mar up the body when I lean it to the side of the light. All right. Okay. There you go. That disc just popped out, and now that disc pops out, you can see the screws, and now we have access to the driver. So let's take a look at the driver here. Oh my god, I'm gonna lose these screws for sure. Alright, so here goes the driver. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm so damn glad that this light doesn't have those auxiliary LEDs that sits on top of everything and just makes it... Ugh, I don't know why. I'm not a fan of auxiliary LEDs. Sorry, I have to put that in there. Alright, now let's check out this light. It's one of those FETs with 7135 current regulated mix. And look how nicely fat wires they use, and look at how thick that is. No, this is not copper, solid copper, but you can tell from the finish of the contacts is really nice. Something I want to point out. So on some of the company, for example, let's take a look at this. I'm not going to show, oops, I don't know if you saw that. Okay, whatever. Take a look at this ace beam. How there is those little holes around here. I don't know if you can see those holes. Those little holes brings the contact from one side to the other. That bridges the contact. And for this purpose, this is not a really good example, but that's enough to bring the contacts over to this side because it's only here, and then it distributes to the rest. But on some drivers, it's just like barely any of these holes to bring the contact over to the other side. On this light here, you can see that there are holes all around the disc, all around the rear of the driver. That way, there's plenty of good current flow going from one side to the other. See that? So, yeah, very, very nice design. Very simple driver, okay? And look at how thin it is. Okay? And look at how thin this is. So the driver is literally flushed against the body of the light. So keeping the light extremely compact. All right, so now that we have the driver sitting out, let's take a look at how thick that shelf is. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but look at that. That is a really thick shelf. If I have to guess, I would say that's about 1 centimeter thick, or a little less than 1 centimeter. But that's a really thick... I'm really impressed with lights that have thick shelf. Okay, LED shelf. because, you know, that's the next bottleneck. You have LED sitting on copper, and the copper right below the LED is the most immediate bottleneck. And then once you leave that out to a larger surface, you want that to heat sink somewhere, and now there's a nice shelf, it heat sink out to there. But if the shelf is too thin, there's nothing to hold enough heat for it to transfer it to the body, because the thicker the shelf, the more width here that you have around the body, around the rest of the fin, to get the heat out. If the shelf is too thin, then you just have one thin slit, and that would take forever for the heat from the shelf to get out to the body of the light. I hope that makes sense. All right. So a thick shelf is very, very, very important. That's all there is to it. So, all right. So as you can see, we broke down an entire D18. What a nice light. Simple. Yes, I agree. But the machining is great. The machining is not simple. The machining is excellent, and I can tell that there was a lot of thinking, a lot of computer design time. See, even this corner here, they cut off the corner here so it won't scratch off the what do you call it? The wrapper of the cell. And, you know, that small attention to detail like that just works. All right. And wherever you see on the driver here, all of the traces are really big and maxed out. Sorry, it's so hard to see on camera, but all of the traces are just maxed out. Okay. Some light have super thin traces, and I'm not impressed. All right. So, this light is excellent with XPL HI 5000 Kelvin and V4 bin because it's brighter than the cool white V3 bin, and that's impressive. Now you have nice tint and max output. All right, so definitely the way to go. However, if you can afford it, go for W2 because it's just 15,000 lumen and 140 KCD in a light this size. You know, did you hear that? Like 15,000 lumen, 140 KCD in a light this size. So that is just too impressive. But it costs a lot because the LEDs are expensive. They're like $6 and €5 or something like that. It translates to like $6.50 per LED, and you multiply that by 18, and that's a lot of money. And the thing is, the footprint of the white, the people call it the flat 2, I call it the white 2. They don't really fit with the footprint of these LEDs. I think the footprint of these are 35. I think they're 35. But the footprints of the white LEDs, the oshrams, are 30, I think. God, I don't remember. The point is they're a little smaller, so they float all around. So you have to like flow them all at once. You have to center them all at once while they're all flowing around. And yeah, it's kind of tricky. It takes a little patience, but it can be done. And when you get it right, you get a phenomenal light. The price is not that impressive either due to the price of the LEDs, but you know, yeah. So that's that. I don't think I missed out anything. I think I'm pretty sure that I still haven't really displayed how bring this light justice of how nice this thing is, because I'm sure I forgot some things that I wanted to say, but very well thought out light. All right. If you have any questions, put it in the comments and I'll try my best to answer it. All right. That's that. Enjoy, guys.